Hi everybody, welcome back. I know that you've been working really hard on your writing. You've been going back through. I love all of the details that you've been adding and all the ways that you've gone back and you've tried to fix it up and add those things that really make your characters come to life. But I want to talk to you a little bit today about continuing the process of going back through and revising and trying to make our writing even better each time. We know that when we're done, we've just begun. There's always something that we can go back through and we can add. And I found something in a book that I was looking at that I thought was kind of cool and it applied really well to what we've been doing. This is actually a page from a book called Borgita and the Coyote. Now, it's not a realistic fiction story, but it's a great example of how real authors are using the same strategies that we're using in our books to try to fix them up and make them fancy and really improve upon them. And on this page, you can see that the author, Verna Artema, has gone through and she has crossed things out and she has scribbles and she has different kinds of codes and markings and she's changed the way that things are said because she wants to keep improving upon this text. So like our writing, her writing is starting to look a little bit sloppy with all those additions. But one of the things that we want to make sure once we've added all of these things and fixed them up is that we move into next week's plan is going to be to take that kind of sloppy fixed up work and make it into something really beautiful. As I was listening to your stories this week, and even as I was reading back through mine, I noticed that sometimes when we start to bring our characters to life, particularly when we're trying to make our characters talk, we get stuck using one word over and over again. And that word is said, which is of course a great word to communicate to your reader that your character is speaking, but there are so many more options that we can use to really bring those stories to life. And I made a poster here this week that says other ways to say said. And depending on how your character is feeling or the situation that your character is in, it might change the way that their talking is happening. For example, if they're in a situation where your character is very angry, maybe instead of said, you might use the word roared. If they're frightened, you might use a word like shrieked or yelled. Or if your character's kind of throwing a fit and kind of upset about something, maybe you might use the word whined instead. So what I'm going to do is I've gone through my writing a little bit and I realized all those saids that I used, and I want to see if I can use some of these words to kind of spice up my writing a little bit and make it a little bit more interesting. So I wanted to take some time to go back through my writing and see if I can start using some of these other words instead of said to help show my character's feelings and to help reflect what's happening in the situation. So I went through and I flagged a few places in my writing that I thought that some of these might work out really well. The page that I picked first says, Sophia went to see what Brody was doing. Sophia asked, "What are you doing?" She set her book down under the slide. She walked to the monkey bars to see Brody. And I started thinking about bringing that moment to life when I started thinking about what I know about kids on the playground. And I thought that there might be a word on here that might work a little bit better. And I was actually thinking that maybe the word yelled might work better instead of even asked here. Sophia yelled, "What are you doing?" If she's across the playground, she might have to yell to him to make her ideas be heard. This is kind of getting kind of small here, so I decided that I was going to use a different strategy to add this new word, and this is something that you can try at home. Just take a little piece of tape, put your new word on a piece of paper, and you can add it right into your writing. And next week, we're going to talk about how to fix this up and make it a little bit fancier, a little bit prettier, because we know that we've made a lot of additions to our writing so far. So now let me read it again with my new word. Sophia went to see what Brody was doing. Sophia yelled, "What are you doing?" She set her book down under the slide. I think that sounds a little bit better for what's happening in the situation. Let's move on to see if we can find a way to use some of these other words. Now, when I look back at this page today, I realized that this was a great place that I could actually add some talking for my characters because of what's happening. It started to rain. Sophia and Brody went home. They didn't want to get wet, so they ran as fast as they could. And I thought this would be a great time for one of my characters to yell something. Or maybe I could use one of my other words. Maybe shrieked. That's kind of an exciting word that I could use. I'm going to add that to the bottom. Sophia shrieked. Hurry, Brody. I think that's the kind of thing that kids would actually yell and shriek to each other when they're trying to get out of the rain. They didn't want to get wet, so they ran as fast as they could. Sophia shrieked, "Hurry, Brody." Now, this is the part where Sophia gets home and starts to realize that she doesn't have that book. At home, Sophia looked for her book in her backpack. "Where is it?" she thought. It was not there. "Mom, my book is missing," she said. Now, I know that sometimes when I'm missing things and I'm not sure where they are, I start to get a little bit panicked and a little bit worried. And I wonder if there's one of our words on here that we could use that might work a little bit better than said right there. Let's see which one could work. Probably not whispered. She might cry. Sophia cried. She shrieked. She whined. I think I'm gonna go with gasped, because she's just realized that something is not in her backpack and she thought it was there. Mom, my book is missing, she gasped. I think that tells the reader the feeling that's happening right there. She looked under the furniture. It wasn't there. This is not good, Sophia said. I used that said there, but I think I can use something a little bit better. Sophia, maybe Sophia whined, because she's realized that she's missing something that's really important. So I can imagine my character kind of whining that statement right there. Brody said that she was reading at the playground. You're right, Sophia said. Ooh. I'm thinking cried might work here. You're right, Sophia cried. If she just realized where it could be, she would probably be pretty excited in that situation. Their mom took them to the playground. It was there. Thank goodness, Sophia thought. The slide kept it dry. Her book was okay. Now, as I read this page, I actually realized not just the words said that needed to be fixed in my book, but I wanted to add one more thought to my page. And this is okay as you're reading through. You can always add on to your pages if you feel like something is missing for your reader. I think I'm going to add. Sophia laughed. And cried, I'll never do that again. Because I think it's important for my character in this story to realize that that wasn't the best thing for her to do, and she probably should do it a little bit better next time. So as you go through your writing this week, our goal is always to make it better, to always add on to it. You can see that I've done a lot of that too. I want you to think about that word said that you might see happening a lot in your writing, and think about some of these other words, and this is only a few of them, that you can use lots and lots of other words instead of the word said to let your reader know what your character is feeling.